Welcome, everyone. Quick question. Did you know that working even a single shift with an expired EMT card here in California is literally illegal? It's absolutely true. And honestly, the consequences for both you and your employer can be pretty severe. I know navigating the state's Title 22 regulations to keep that card active can sometimes feel like trying to read a foreign language. But hey, that is exactly why we're here today. This explainer is basically your ultimate survival guide. We're going to decode the rules, bypass all that bureaucratic confusion, and give you a crystal clear path to renewing or reinstating your California EMT certification. So go ahead and check your wallet right now. Is your California EMT expiring soon? The stakes of keeping your certification active are incredibly high, guys. A lapse doesn't just mean you're pulled off the schedule. Depending on how long you let it go, it can mean massive fees, repeating background checks, or even having to retake your exams. My goal with this explainer is to completely demystify these dense requirements so you know exactly what to do, when to do it, and what forms you need to just get it done.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. California EMT Renewal Basics. 2. Continuing Education Requirements. 3. Verifying your EMT skills. 4. Navigating lapse certifications. 5. Application steps and fees. And 6. Final tips and a quick disclaimer.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1 California EMT Renewal Basics.
So, while state regulations under Title 22 standardized your required hours, your actual day-to-day renewal process is managed locally by a LEMSA. Right, so what is a LEMSA? It stands for Local EMS Agency. This is basically the county-level organization that processes your paperwork, collects your specific local fees, and physically hands you your EMT wallet card. Whether you're working out of San Diego, Marin, or Orange County, your specific LEMSA is the ultimate gatekeeper for your certification.
Moving right along to Section 2, Continuing Education Requirements. This right here is the core prerequisite every single person must meet to renew. And the magic number you really need to remember is 24. To renew, you've got to successfully complete a 24-hour refresher course from an approved EMT training program, or you need to knock out 24 individual hours of approved continuing education. And look, the timing absolutely matters. These 24 hours have to be completed within the 24 months immediately prior to applying for your renewal.
But wait, you can't just click through some random online articles to get those hours. There is a strict rule of emphasis here. Exactly 50%, meaning a minimum of 12 hours, absolutely must be in an instructor-based format. The state defines this as a format where an instructor is readily available to answer your questions and provide actual feedback. Now, the remaining 12 hours? Those can be non-instructor-based, things like reading approved journal articles or knocking out independent online modules. Now, there's a very specific catch if you haven't renewed in a while. If you're renewing your EMT certification for the first time since July 1st, 2019, Title 22 regulations mandate that you provide documentation of successful training in 3 highly specific areas. Those are naloxone administration for opioid overdoses, epinephrine auto-injector use, and glucometer training. These are legally mandatory additions to your training record if you haven't documented them yet, so don't forget them.
Okay, Section 3. Verifying your EMT skills. Now, what's really interesting about this is that you can't just know the book material. You actually have to prove you can still perform the physical skills in real life. And to do that, you must use the exact state of California EMS SCV form, specifically the one revised in January 2017, or its exact equivalent provided by your LEMSA. Once you get this form filled out and signed, it's valid for a maximum of 2 years from the date of verification. Seriously, do not let it expire before you submit it.
On that form, there are 10 core competencies that must be evaluated. And the key phrase to remember here is direct observation. An approved verifier, and that could be an actively certified or licensed EMT, advanced EMT, paramedic, RN, PA, or physician, must directly observe you performing these skills during actual or simulated patient contact. They literally have to put their name, license number, and signature on the line, verifying that you know exactly what you're doing.
Next up, Section 4, Navigating Lapsed Certifications. Basically, what happens if you actually let it expire?
Well, working with an expired card is obviously off the table, but reinstating it is totally possible. It just depends on your timeline. Let's look at how the requirements build based on your specific lapse tier. If your lapse is under 6 months, you're relatively safe. You just need the standard 24 hours of CE. But watch how fast this escalates. If you lapse between 6 and 12 months, you suddenly need 36 hours of CE. And if you lapse for 12 months or more, You're looking at a whopping 48 hours of continuing education, plus a mandatory state and federal criminal background check.
So the crucial point here is this. Whatever you do, do not let your certification lapse past the 1-year mark if you can help it. If it lapses for 12 months or more, not only do you need double the CE hours, but you actually have to pass the National Registry of EMTs, or NREMT, cognitive and psychomotor exams all over again. That is, unless you happen to possess a current and valid NREMT certificate or higher license already. Letting it go past a year is practically like starting from scratch.
All right, Section 5, Application Steps and Fees. Assuming you have all your training and skills verified, let's walk through the final logistical steps. Breaking the application process down into bite-sized pieces makes it way less intimidating. First, gather all your CE certificates and that signed skills competency verification form. Second, double-check that you have a valid, unexpired CPR card for the healthcare provider or professional rescuer level. Third, complete your background check if you're a new applicant, transferring counties, or lapsed over a year. And finally, step 4, submit all these documents to your specific LEMSA, either online or in person, and pay your fee.
And speaking of fees, we need to talk numbers, because they vary wildly. While the state of California mandates a fixed $37 fee for recertification, local LEMSAs add their own processing fees right on top of that. For example, renewing in Marin County is incredibly affordable, with just a $15 county fee, bringing your total to $52. However, down in San Diego County, the local fee is $198, making your total renewal substantially more expensive at $235. You absolutely have to check your local agency's specific fee schedule. Keep in mind, those base fees don't include the cost of a live scan fingerprinting service if you end up needing one. A DOJ and FBI live scan background check is totally mandatory if you're transferring to a new LEMSA for the first time, if you're a brand new initial applicant, or, like we mentioned earlier, if your certification has been lapsed for 12 months or more. You'll need to head to an approved live scan location and pay their rolling fees to get that done.
Finally, Section 6, Final Tips and Disclaimer. Before we wrap up, I want to give you some highly actionable advice to avoid the most common bureaucratic pitfalls that hold up literally hundreds of applications every single year. First, do not use an outdated skills form. If it's not the current state-approved version, or if it's older than 2 years, they will flat out reject it. Second, carefully audit your CE hours. If you miss that 50% instructor-based rule, your application stops dead in its tracks. Agencies explicitly state that incomplete applications can be held up for up to 60 days, or just rejected entirely with non-refundable fees.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why you cannot wait until the last minute. LEMSAs generally recommend submitting your complete application up to 60 days before your card expires. Why? Well, because the state allows agencies up to 45 days to process a completed application. Think about it. If you apply just 5 days before you expire and it takes them 30 days to process, you are legally grounded and cannot work for those 25 days. So please, apply early.
Just a quick legal disclaimer to ensure we're all on the same page. The Title 22 regulations and local requirements we've talked about today are current as of the filming of this explainer. But bureaucratic rules, state laws, and local fee structures can and do shift all the time. Always verify the exact details, forms, and fees directly with your specific local EMS agency before you actually submit your paperwork. So, with all that structured knowledge in your toolkit, are you ready to renew your California EMT certification entirely stress-free? You now have the complete roadmap, from knocking out those 24 hours of CE all the way to navigating live scan background checks. Do yourself a favor. Check your expiration date right now. Start gathering those CE hours, get that skills form signed, and submit your application early so you don't miss a single shift. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and stay safe out there in the field.